am I making it up? So then there's this thing called spiritual abuse. Now, spiritual abuse is submitting to authority, where you just had to blindly submit to your blind subjugation to spiritual authority. You can't question the whole thing. He's like, I gotta go. And he got out from underneath that place. Okay? A situation. Or if you've been in a situation, know that you're not making it up and you're not alone. No one ever talked about spiritual abuse in a negative light. It was just if you've ever served full-time in a church. All right. Okay. Because behind the scenes, it gets kind of wild. Behind the scenes, it gets kind of wild. And no one wants to talk about this. He fell into prostitution. He didn't fall into cocaine addiction. His whole scandal was sexual abuse. He had one of the most top 10 or even top 5 most influential churches in America. And boom, overnight got taken out because you're before you. Lord, that you love your church, that you love your bride, and you're coming back for her. You're a lovesick bride, and you are going to make her ready. In Jesus' name, thank you, Lord. Okay, moving on. We got a little bit. We got some more time to get some more stuff. Okay, let's go. So let me talk real quick about what. So he's another one of the shepherds for Saul. He's one of the royal shepherds, and he's at Nob, with the priest when David is fleeing. So David's fleeing. He ends up at Nob. He goes in there. He eats the showbread. He asks for Goliath's sword, and then he recognizes that Doeg, the Edomite's there. Now, what's crazy is it says David talks about this after, and he says, I recognized that in that moment. He saw Doeg there, and he thought, this isn't good. Anyways, as you know the story, what ends up happening is Saul in his demonic rape. And this is what's crazy about sin. Sin is never logical, right? So Saul comes, killed, because they aided and abetted David. And the person who, no one got David, and then he's the one to kill the priest. And David's like, talks about this later. He's like, Lord, what have I done? I should have said that. And to me, that's like a red flag. When you see a red flag in your life and whatever, red flags are there for a reason. Does that make sense? If you get a red flag, it is there for a reason. Act on it. I've learned the hard way, like with our friends, and it's right that the pastor's wife is hanging out with this guy all the time, and they're driving the car alone together. You don't have to be super spiritual red flag. Because the implications could be serious, like it was here at Nob with Doeg the Edomite. And you're not disrespectful if you talk to somebody about it, right? But I would encourage you that Matthew 18, just go directly to the person. You don't have to create counsel of all of, hey, I've noticed this. This is what I've noticed. Now, back to that thing real quick. Because if you genuinely love people, Bill Johnson said this about what is the antidote for envy, because we all have it. And I've even felt it. See, Doeg the Edomite was also a shepherd. He had the same calling as David. David was a shepherd. So he's looking at this fellow shepherd and saying, how is this guy getting all this breakthrough and recognition? And then I lead these young guys to the Lord. I pray for them. I disciple them. Then all of a sudden they're leading more people to the Lord to me. They're seeing greater miracles than me. They're having greater financial breakthrough than me. You know what I mean? Plus, they're younger. Da-da-da-da-da. And I honestly, it's so bizarre. I'm just being completely masked off with you guys right now. I felt that envy larva start to hatch in me. And I would see them communicating the word of God. And they're more anointed. They're more... And I was just like, oh my gosh. This is creeping up. And it's disgusting. It's weird though. It's like the same feeling, when you're driving, you're like, ooh, what would it be like if I just went over there? And you're like, oh, what would it be like to jump off here right now? There's a weird little flesh demonic thing just comes into your mind. I started to realize, dude, this isn't from my own mind. It's not generated from Christoph. This is an external dart from the enemy. This is disgusting. Where is this coming from? Taking that thing captive and making it obedient to Christ, right? So I love this. Bill Johnson said this. This is the antidote to get out of tall poppy syndrome and get into redwood territory, okay? So this is what you start to do. If someone has the same calling as you, the same exact gift, and you're going to have greater breakthrough, this is what you do. you start to say, Lord, I just ask right now that you would show me your heart for that person. I want you to show me for that. Wow. Come on. All right, let's keep it moving. I love this one. So David is in David at Nog. And he's got Goliath's sword. And I don't know, I picture Goliath's sword like the Final Fantasy VII sword. You know what I mean? That big old gutsy thing that like dragging on the crowd, like yeah. And he's rocking that. But what it does is it's you got Michael Jordan wearing the shorts for his North Carolina college team underneath his shorts for the Chicago Bulls every game. Reminding him of when he hit that game-winning shot to win the NCAA championship. That's great. That's wild, right? I think there's something there that this is so important. There's a distinction here in your to cause you to plateau, and now you're a one-hit wonder, and you're only for the rest of your life ever talking about that one breakthrough. Wow. That one time in your DTS outreach when you saw a miracle. And I've seen it, and I want to cry right now, dude. It's hurting my heart, actually, physically right now talking about this. But I see that. There's depth to that person behind the story, and you have an extremely extraordinary, situation, and they're just a one-hit wonder. Like, yes, there's the guy that killed Goliath. That was his one thing. He put in Goliath holding that sword, reminding him everywhere, no, this is my launch pad. I remember what Samuel said, that I will one day reign over Israel. This is just the beginning. No matter what the circumstance looks like around me. When Rhonda had that word for us to get our degrees, and said, and I would look out every day at break, and I would just look at the ocean, and I wonder what part of the ship you're building now, Lord. Now I'm in the third quarter. I can start to see maybe the hull a little bit coming together. It's a long journey that the Lord has for you, the promise over your life. I want you to take every opportunity to go on outreach and don't get stuck just in the classroom. Even though it's not many stories of miracles that you have for the rest of your life, in Jesus' name. But sometimes you hold them and you hold on to remind yourself what God has for you. Madness before the other king, right? That's so crazy to me. For a number of reasons, especially. Oh, by the way, cheat code. You guys want cheat code for your assignment? Cheat code. Remember on the upper part of your horizontal? If you want more information on your character study and you can find a place where there's Psalms, it will give you insight into the character, what they were going through in that moment, okay? So if you read, where are you? You've abandoned me. Bro, he had to convince a king. You talk about winning an Oscar or an Emmy, like the Oscar goes to David. He starts scratching the doorpost and actually making marks in whatever he had to do. But if you look at Tier 1 military, they talk about this as psyops, so psychological warfare, and there's whole levels that they're able to go to if they're in crazy situations and able to infiltrate situations. It blows my mind that David literally got away with that. When they're gathered to him, he gets the Gibberine. What's crazy about when you read the list of the mighty men, the 30 and the 3, they come from Israel. These are ragtag, like, societal rejects, They're ones that maybe couldn't pay their debts, and they had gripes with the government. They were the remedial class that just said, well, we can't really fit into society. And they heard that David was in the caves of Adullam, so they gathered to him there. And this says something, though, to us. This says something about how so often we're like, oh, Lord, I'm not really walking the fullest of my potential because I don't have the right mentor to run with. And just become that wild lover of God, and the team will gather around you. Well, that's okay. Because from that place of radical worship, from that place of gazing on God, ever seen. Like, you look at their military operations, that we're talking about. It doesn't make sense. I'm not even just talking about the spiritual aspect here. I'm talking about just, it's crazy if you train in a spirit of excellence, is someone that actually knows what they're doing. He could choke out in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys with way higher rankings than him from other gyms. Because of the look at your wife and you still love her. I'm going to come to you for marriage advice. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just, when I'm at the gym, I'm not just looking at the buff guy. All right. About this. I feel like we have other things on here that we need to cover too on the board. But I love that how he's not. I'm going to look up the gangrene foot. Is that okay? No. Children, avert your eyes. Avert your eyes. Oh, shoot. Oh, if you want to eat lunch or you have a piece of stomach, avert your eyes. Avert your eyes. Oh! You don't want to have your soul. That's so great. I think that's why David had this impulse, right, for holiness. That even that little bit of coming against saying something against the ministry in such a way. He said, oh, I just the context. These are real people. What's going on in this scenario? We're going to talk about this in tomorrow's workshop in depth to really activate your imagination, your mind to go there, okay? But picture this. You have these elite warriors. I don't know if you've ever seen shows like Man Tracker or any of those shows where they're able to like track it. They're being hunted. What are situations where you're like, provision of the Lord. Yes, we can smoke this fool, you know. Provision. How do you now tell me perfectly provided on a silver plate? He goes up. He's about to, he's rolling up on him. Unhurried. And Saul's not a slouch either. Saul is a warrior. To be a king back then, you had to be able, to does it. And the whole time, his voice, you could just picture the Gibberim, the three mighty men, train fighters. Now is the time. God delivered Saul on a silver platter. And then he goes, and he comes back with a little piece of the cloak. The whole what team want, B? What team are you? Like, you're throwing us? There's serious implications to David's character. Right? This again at Ziklag, right? See that thing creep in as soon as it enters in. Versus gentleness. I have it here somewhere where, okay, David, like, man of justice, but then he didn't actually execute justice with Tamar. That's such a great observation. Okay? David says, one of the secrets to my character, he says, thy behind my character, behind my providence. Okay? Anointed to be king, to not take him out and take the throne right there, is that passivity or is that gentleness? Because guarantee his crew is looking at him like, you're being passive and it's going to cost us our lives. But to David understood that that was gentleness. Okay? That Saul was dead and tried to claim the hit. Like, what is going on? And also, again, the one who then killed you guys caught. This is so important in terms of the bigger context. Because when Ishbal was murdered by those guys, everyone else in the rookie. So David and Abner go close from that same small town. But so it's like that pit bull that you train the whole time when you needed comes, he's mad that as hell just goes, gets impaled on the spear. Brother Joab's never going to forgive me if I hurt you. He said when he's passed away, the guys who assassinate go through you that hit on me. I'm not giving you a slap on the wrist. Right? He's so bold with the ball here, it would have really thrown. Remember they went on a raid in Ziklag? They came back to the base, and he's like, guys, I'm right here. I can hear you. He's gaining not only the plunder from Ziklag, but all the plunder that raid doesn't give up and goes to the Lord. What looked like to be the great, instead of exacting justice, and they need to understand the fruit of the spirit of gentleness. The throne, and See, this is God's job on you. You deserve it. Someone please. And he's like, no, sorry. You can't. What's crazy about Shimei is, on the other hand, we see with Bathsheba, make that delineation. But he understood the difference. Back to the whole pride and the thing on dependency of the spirit versus independence and trying to take care of things. Well, maybe it will tell you if it was gentleness or passivity, because there are moments where he was, and you see how he's crying out to the Lord at that time. You see, you're not being passive if you're crying out in prayer. And you're just saying, God, I'm giving passive because those are when some of the best prayers in the waiting is the same word where you talk when they talk bearing, but child labor. When you're like, so it's the same word that they would use, and they're doing a spin in the air and trying to land on their tip of their toes. Fatalism. But waiting on trying to go out here and make something happen, but in your prayer life, contending and saying, God, I need you. I hope this is helpful and is adding to your character study, okay? Praise God. We're going to do two things right now. I was praying. So having been one who pastored as a civil design was created to see those with the calling of God in their life and help elevate them and bring them into that and not to control. See to those evil want to repent on behalf of any leadership that control you. I just want to get down on my knees right now. Just ask for your forgiveness. And I just say that we're sorry. I'm sorry. This doesn't reflect God. I repent. God gifted you and was maybe insecure and tried to stop it. I'm sorry. We didn't know how to decide. I'm sorry for every leader way for control. I'm sorry. So now I just pray for every gifting in this room. Just call to that and then glorify your Father in heaven. A renewed love for the local church, a renewed love, God, to leadership and how you design teams to be. No more Lone Rangering it. No more not connecting roots to other people because I was hurt in the past. And I release that entitlement right now, Jesus. This isn't for everybody. It might just be for one. Stand up if that's you. This is ministry to you right now.